Today's episode of Voiced is from r/empathyasshole and is about 3 intriguing dilemmas, including a woman confronting mansplaining in a surprising twist and a daughter standing up against a bully. Which of these stories will leave you questioning who the real antagonist is? Subscribe if you enjoy.
I don't normally post on Reddit, so please forgive me if I do this wrong. I, 33 female, work in a very small, technical, specific, male-dominated field. I won't give too much information on it, as I think you could easily find my identity if I did, but let's just say it's a subcategory of law. I graduated 9 years ago. For anyone wondering, the system in my country is different than in the United States, so I only studied for 5 years, and am now a lawyer as well as a researcher. I publish some work here and there, but nothing too major, and no one outside of that field knows my work. Yesterday, I went to a bar with a couple of friends who introduced me to one of their friends who works in the same field as me. I was pretty excited to meet him because it's rare to meet people who work in that field. He doesn't exactly do the same thing as I do. He's not a lawyer, but a legal advisor, but we work on the same topics. So naturally, we started talking about our work. At one point, we were discussing a point on which we had different opinions, so I explained mine to him, and he replied by saying that my opinion was based on nothing, while his was based on the work of a professional. You guessed it, me. He basically started explaining my work to me, but in a completely wrong way, and missed all of my points. I asked him if he was sure that that was what the author meant, and he said that he was. It was pretty simple, actually. For another good 20 minutes, he explained all of it to me in detail, like I was a first-year law student. I didn't say anything, because it was pretty funny to watch him say things that were completely wrong with so much confidence. After that, the topic changed and the night went on. But at the end of the night, right before leaving, I decided to tell him that I was actually the person that wrote the work he had quoted, and that he hadn't really understood it. He reacted very badly and got angry, and he told me that I had manipulated him to humiliate him. He yelled at me for not saying it was my work at the beginning. I simply replied that he had embarrassed himself and left. I woke up this morning to texts from my friends saying I was wrong for causing drama and tension, and that I could have been nicer to their friend. I'm not sure if I'm in the wrong there. I mean, yes, I could have told him right away, but is it that big of a deal that I didn't? I'm not exactly sure. Am I the person in the wrong? I forgot to make this clear, and maybe it's a bit of a misunderstanding, but both conversations happened only between the two of us. We were the only ones talking about our work, and our friends also weren't really there when I told him that I was the author. So it's not like I publicly humiliated him. The only thing embarrassing for him here is that a woman seemed smarter than him, and I think that's what he had an issue with. I've seen some comments claiming that this post was fake, because that just doesn't happen. I've seen many other stories where the same thing happens, and that's not realistic. I just find it funny to see lots of comments from women sharing similar stories, and then lots of comments from men saying it doesn't happen.
Wow, it looks like we have 2 very different perspectives on familial expectations and relationships. While one story reveals the tension of being underestimated in a professional environment, the other dives into the complexities of being a young person feeling overlooked by their own parents. It's fascinating how dynamics of power and value play out in both personal and professional settings. As we transition into the next story, let's explore another scenario that challenges the expectations imposed by family, uncovering how these young individuals navigate those turbulent waters. Stick around as we delve into this next tale.
My parents had me, 15 years old female, when they were 18 and 19. They always made it so obvious they resented being parents so young, and added to that, they never tried to be good parents. I typically spend most of my time at friends' houses. I don't have extended family to rely on. They disowned my parents for having me so young, so friends' houses were a positive in my life that made me feel more comfortable than being at home with my parents. My parents never did the typical parent stuff like helping with homework or showing up to support me at school. I don't think they ever attended a parents' conference for me. They ignored a lot of stuff I needed to get signed, and I'd have to get right in their face on the last day to get signatures. My birthday and Christmas have never been a big deal or celebration. They do celebrate their wedding anniversary, but that's a them thing. When they told me 2 years ago they were expecting a baby, it really surprised me. But then it hurt because sometimes they said stuff that made me feel like I didn't exist, like how they were so excited to have a baby and how they couldn't wait to be parents. A friend of my mom's did remind her of me, but then she and Dad said I was basically the too early practice run, and this was the real deal. When my sister was born, They were so attentive to her that I ceased to exist completely. I got sick, and my school was trying to call someone to pick me up early, but they ignored the calls. When I got home, they had taken the baby out for a family day. When they got home, they hadn't even realized the school called, because they turned off their phones to enjoy family time. My mom quit her job a month after my sister was born. She wants to be a stay-at-home mom, and she and Dad want at least one more kid. My dad leaves work early on Fridays so he can spend more time with the family, mom and sister. My parents tried to have another kid for over a year, and mom isn't pregnant yet, so they're jumping to fertility treatments. They told me I need to watch my sister for a few hours every week while they attend those appointments, and they gave me this detailed list of stuff she needs and what I'm going to do with her. I told them I won't, and that they had her, so they need to take care of her because she's not my kid. My parents told me it's a few hours a week and not a huge deal. Dad told me I need to look at it as paying back all they did for me. I said no and told them they don't care about me, so why would I want to help them? Am I the hole?
Wow, the dynamics of family and responsibility can be incredibly complex, can't they? In the first situation, we see a young person grappling with feelings of neglect and the heavy burden of parental expectations. It's heartbreaking to witness her struggle for acknowledgement and support in a home that seemingly favors a new sibling over her well-being. Now, as we pivot to a different perspective, let's dive into a parent's fight to protect their child in a very different circumstance. Here we find an individual facing the distressing reality of bullying, bringing a wave of emotions that any parent can relate to. Let's see how far they're willing to go to ensure their child's safety and happiness.
I am a 30-year-old male, and my husband is a 33-year-old male. We have an 11-year-old daughter who's been going through severe bullying at school. It just keeps getting worse. It started off with just name-calling, but has gotten worse over the past few weeks. Context: she's adopted, which is something we've always been open about and celebrated as part of her story. Recently, some kids found out about her adoption and started saying horrible things, telling her stuff like her birth mother didn't want her. They tell her that she's unwanted and tell her she's a reject, which is not the case. Her mother loved her very much to the point she literally gave her life so she could be here. If this wasn't bad enough, a few days ago, she came home in tears with her hair butchered. They'd cut off 2 inches of her ponytail while in class, all while taunting her with names and laughing at her reaction. They follow her through the halls to make fun of her on a regular basis now. Both my husband and I have been in touch with the school about the bullying more times than I can count. I emailed, called, even showed up in person to speak with teachers and the principal, but all I got were empty promises that they'd look into it. Nothing changed, and my daughter's mental health has taken a hit. She's anxious, struggling to sleep, and now begs us not to send her to school. Finally, out of frustration and feeling like no one was taking this seriously, we reached out to a lawyer to explore legal action against both the school and the bully's family. Only when the school and her parents learned we were considering legal action did they start to act. Suddenly, the school calls me to say they're moving the bully out of my daughter's class and claim they had a talk with her. The girl's parents reached out too, saying they'd talked to their daughter and promised it would stop. But honestly, I don't believe them. It feels like they're all saying this just to get me to back off and avoid the legal consequences. I worry that once the dust settles, things will go right back to how they were, and my daughter will still be dealing with this. My family thinks I should give the school and parents a chance, now that they're finally taking action, but I feel like it's all for show. So, am I the asshole for moving forward with legal action, even though the school and the bully's parents now claim they're handling it?
Before I dive into today's posts, please consider subscribing to stay updated on all the drama we talk about here. Now, wow, the situations in these Reddit stories are incredibly intense. The first post really highlights the frustrations of being underestimated in a male-dominated field. Can you believe that guy tried to mansplain her own work? And the second post is just heartbreaking. It's so sad to see how the original poster feels completely invisible to their parents. Lastly, the third post shows the lengths parents will go to protect their child from bullying. It's a tough call on whether to pursue legal action or give the school a chance. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you for listening to today's episode of Voiced. If you enjoyed daily, high-quality stories, please like and subscribe to show your support.